Previously on Outback Rangers.
Transmitter fits in there.
Rangers catch and tag a 4-metre croc.
Transmitter's going to tell us the story of where he's going to move.
In this episode, Kakadu undergoes a magical transformation. But troubling news sparks a critical search mission.
It was a great spot for Nigel's, no doubt about that.
As Rangers continue efforts to protect local residents.
When I first had it, I thought she might not make it.
And make ready for the park's busiest time of year.
Interesting job, you're actually trying to look for something that you don't want to find.
The storms are over, and for everyone in Kakadu, it's the return to paradise. It's the Aboriginal season of Bangarang. The monsoon clouds have shed their burden. Now only clear skies prevail. Kakadu is at its most beautiful. But the serenity can be deceiving. The changing season triggers great migrations among Kakadu's animal population. And some do not make it to the end. Quoll's Crossing, East Alligator River. Rangers Andrew Wellings and Gary Lidner are heading out on a critical search mission. For 5 months, they have been tracking Nigel the crocodile as part of Gary's croc management research.
We'll see you during the wet season, chap.
But things are not looking good. Nigel's tracker hasn't moved in a while, and the Rangers fear the worst.
So we have been a bit concerned with Nigel at this location because he hasn't moved a lot. He's been in the general area there now over a month and he hasn't seemed to move much. So that makes you think whether perhaps he's thrown the transmitter, or maybe he's got into a fight and ripped off, or perhaps he's died. Crocodiles get beaten up and killed. Where's the 2 maps going?
Saltwater crocs have been known to travel long distances in their seasonal movements. As the seasons changed, Nigel took advantage of the tidal currents, journeying along Kakadu's waterways in search of migrating birds. But where there's plenty of food, there's plenty of competition.
And so we're going down the East Alligator River to his first big camp down at Jono's Jungle.
As Nigel's travelling up this creek, he's coming into contact with a lot of other crocs, especially some really big ones. So he's got to keep his wits about him all the time. Nigel, when he left the crossing area, he came down, he ended up at this creek here. There were thousands of magpie geese up in the floodplain there when Nigel would have went up. So Nigel would have been stalking geese in about, 50 centimetres, 30 centimetres of water. After about a month, and he moved on. I'd say Nigel's a pretty smart croc.
Like you say, he's got all sussed out.
Yep.
Nigel has been an invaluable asset to Gary's research. His journey has provided insight into the behavior of Kakadu's most formidable residents. In a place where the paths of man and reptile regularly intersect, it's information that's critical to managing visitor safety in the park.
Have a look, Croc.
Hey?
Something white in the water up here. Check it out. Might be Nigel swimming out. Croc track, eh?
Croc track.
Crocodile there.
But the croc is not Nigel. It's a tough blow for Gary.
Nigel could be in here somewhere and or in a side gutter with some fresh water.
And just as things couldn't get any worse,
Not looking good, a lot of logs up here. Yeah, so we'll turn around, Andrew.
Yep. I don't think we'll get much further. The only option left is the chopper, I reckon.
All right.
It seems the only way forward now is up. At park headquarters in Jabiru, trainee ranger Sam Deegan is watching over a local of her own. Sam has been caring for an orphaned quoll named Jilly for 6 months now. Since 2001, the spread of toxic cane toads into Kakadu has nearly wiped out the park's already fragile northern quoll population. And Sam's role as protector is an important one.
Yeah, when I first had her, I thought she might not make it. She had dust in her eyes, she had sand in her mouth, really dehydrated. I literally thought that she was going to die. She was about from her fingertip to here. That's how small she was. And now she's about this big. She's pretty healthy now. It is always a good feeling to watch them grow up and watch them take off, release. I got, so attached to her.
Soon, Jilly will join Kakadu's special colony of quolls, a new generation trained to avoid cane toads. But the wilderness can be a deadly place, especially for a small mammal with no street smarts.
Before I'm going to release her, I'd like her to go and get trained to avoid cane toads. Some people said, do you know that she's going to die if you do release her back into where she comes from? I'm just hoping that she'll, grow old and die old, I suppose.
For now, Jilly will remain in Sam's care.
Come on, princess.
But for Anne O'Day, the time has come to let go of her ward.
Yeah, sometimes if an animal's orphaned or injured, people bring them in. And we'll look after them until they're ready to be released back into the park.
Over the past year, Anne has played foster mum to a number of injured wallabies.
Okay. No.
Today, Anne is releasing one of them back into the wild.
Jilly's going to go free today. I'm going to take him down to Violet's house and let him go free. Violet's a traditional owner from the central area of the park. And she's got a good safe place away from the road where there's no dogs to humbug the joeys.
A wild animal, Jarrah was never meant to be a pet. It'll be a soft release for the wallaby. He will learn to live on his own in the safety of Violet's home before he decides he's ready for the bush.
I used to have a girl and a boy who came here. They come and knock my bedroom door, sleep with me in the bed. When it's cold. Yeah, no, I love him.
And put him down and see what he thinks.
Yeah, fine.
Come on. Untie your legs. Look. Any grass. You can't complain. It's a bit like paradise here, isn't it, Violet?
Yeah. What his name?
Jilly.
Daddy.
Yeah. Yeah, looks like he's going to be happy here, I reckon. I'll be a little bit sad when I leave him here, but at least I know he's in a good place, and this is what it's all about, not me keeping him. He's not supposed to be a pet. It's a wild animal.
For Kakadu's small family of rangers, the role as guardians rests on their shoulders. Thousands of animal species call the park home, and for many, Kakadu is their last chance at survival. Back at the South Alligator River, help arrives for Gary and Andy.
So basically, we've got a croc with a satellite transmitter on its back. It could be a bag of bones, it could be a live croc, could be in under the tree, but hopefully he's out in the open and easy to see. Yeah. So there you go. There you want to take a
So we're on a straight track now, heading straight for the last location, sort of like on the other edge of this floodplain. So now we're just looking for a 4-metre crocodile.
Roger.
I didn't realise there's so much water up here.
A lot of room for him to hide him.
What the hell is that?
A crocodile, but no sign of a transmitter. The search is not looking promising, but the sight of the swamplands is keeping Andy hopeful.
Lots of ducks here, probably geese earlier. It's a great spot for Nigel's, no doubt about that.
Just looking absolutely prime. The area is fantastic. There's loads of water, loads of food sources. It's quite different to what I thought when I originally looked at the coordinates.
This is the spot now. This is where the GPS waypoint is. Look at this big track here. I don't know what that is.
There's some movement down there.
Oh, here we go. It's going. That's Nigel's, no doubt about that. I'm pretty happy with that.
In true Croc fashion, the elusive Nigel makes a timely appearance for a few fleeting seconds.
Yeah, we just might land over near those tracks there.
Roger.
The day's search is suddenly worthwhile. Nigel is not only alive, he has found paradise.
There's a lot of water, it's perfect swamp, great habitat all around here. I say Nigel's a very happy croc.
Saltwater crocodile population in the Northern Territory is a success story. When you look at some of the depressing things that are happening overseas with tigers, lions, you know, habitat being blocked off by fences and paddocks, and crocodiles don't have that here. The special thing about Kakadu is it allows saltwater crocodiles to do their thing.
Kakadu is one of the world's most important habitats for the saltwater croc. Overhunting nearly drove the species to extinction, but since their protection in 1970, the salty has made a remarkable comeback.
Nigel's journey, you know, I'm really looking forward to the next chapter. It isn't over yet. And hope the Nigel's transmitter keeps going for a while so we can continue the journey and find out what he's up to.
As the dry season approaches, the monsoon floods are beginning to recede, and the park's waterfalls are accessible once more. Southwest in the Mary River District, District Rangers Robbie Markham and Billy Fordham are preparing Gunlum Falls for the impending tide of tourists.
Now that the wet season's over, our tourist season will start up, so we've got to start getting the campground ready. And first thing that we need to tick off is make sure that there's no crocodiles here. Crocodile safety is very important. People like coming up here and enjoying these campgrounds, so we've got to make sure that they're safe.
If we do get it wrong, there will be fatalities, and that's the reason why we do these croc surveys, so we don't have any fatalities.
Yeah, we just look for slide marks and tracks or any other indications if there's any salties in here. Good thing about walking the creek at night time with the spotlights is you actually can see through the water and pick up any slide mark quite easily. Come here during the day, you'll get the reflection. You can't see the bottom, you don't know what's down there. It's night time, you can see straight through it. Interesting job, you're actually trying to look for something that you don't want to find.
There is a risk everywhere you go. You just don't know where they're lurking, where they're hiding, and you just don't know if they're up on a bank somewhere that come straight in at you, or... It's pretty dangerous, all right? I suppose we've got to do that to protect the people that come up here.
It's a tough job, But Billy and Robbie's commitment to Kakadu runs deep.
I had a chief ranger supervisor years ago. He said to me, he said, I'll make you a ranger or not one at all. And I was thinking, what the hell is he talking about? And then it just dawned me saying, well, you either got to have a feeling for the country or you don't have a feeling at all. And I've been here 21 years later, and it must mean I've got some sort of feeling for this country.
Yeah, I definitely think Quoll does have a powerful presence, but it's a peaceful and calming presence. You just have a deep emotional and spiritual connection to the place. You just end up longing for that comfortableness.
Gunlom Falls is a sacred place for the Jawan people. But in a changing world, long-held beliefs are under threat. Yet there is hope for the next generation. Traditional owner Ryan Barraway sees it as his duty to preserve the knowledge tied to his ancestral land.
Bolung is another name for rainbow serpent. This is one of his homes. Jawan people has a lot of respect for Bolung. We believe that he's the giver of life. We don't disturb Bolung. When you disturb Bolung, he's got the power to bring big wind and rain that can cause flood. The reason why I bring them, the younger generation here, is I want to pass down all the knowledge that's been passed down to me and teach them why we value this country, and it's a very special place for us, so that one day when they grow up, they'll want to become rangers and help look after the country. With the changes now, Jawan have come a long way. We're not going to go away. This is our country. We were born in this country, and we're certainly going to be buried and die in this country.
In the nearby Jim Jim district, Chief Ranger Kathy Wilson is taking in the sights.
Yeah, the cycle is almost complete. We're about to start our surveys again, and the wet's just about finished, and yeah, we're underway. So it's like everything's been washed clean, and all the plants and animals are all revived and ready for the visitors to come in and experience the place. It's a fantastic time to come and have a look at the waterfall now. Everything's so alive this time of the year.
The year has almost come full circle. It is an ever-changing landscape in Kakadu, and rangers and residents have become part of its ebb and flow.
I think most people who work here have a passion for Kakadu and what it is. And like, Kakadu is just, it's a beautiful place, and it's always changing. You know, your daily work is not the same every day. You never know what's going to come up. Just the working environment, it's, apart from being really hot sometimes, it's a really good place to work.
You definitely become part of the family. They take you in open arms, and yeah, everyone works for everyone because you are remote. Come wet season, you can be isolated, and you do rely on each other. You help out your neighbours, you help out your colleagues, your workmates, and they do become family. You spend a lot of time with each other.
I came here with nothing. I came here with a motorbike and a couple of panniers on the side, and that was it. And like I say, I've had a fantastic life experience here. I'm just so grateful for the opportunity.
Kakadu is home to me. Yeah, it's very special. It's cultural value, it's the natural values. The people here that I love, they are all families. This is where our ancestors come from. I wouldn't trade it for anything else or anywhere else. Kakadu's home.
Yeah, I guess with Kakadu, it has still got that extremeness about it. It's untouched, it still is remote. The seasons are just so varying, and working up here with a living Indigenous culture that's still active, it's just ongoing, and just the places you get to go and the things you see, it's a privilege to work up here. Yeah, it's a very special place.
It's not just land you're looking after, it's people, it's history, it's a whole lot of values all tied into that land. Why places like Kakadu National Park are absolutely important to all of our futures. We can't make any more of them, we've only got to look after what we've got.
A whole year has come to a close, but life and culture continue in Kakadu, as they have for tens of thousands of years. A land guarded by an extraordinary few for generations to come. Previously on Outback Rangers, the Big Wet unleashes its might over Kakadu as rising waters cut access to communities.
Plenty of trees down today. It happens every wet season.
And a research crew undertakes a difficult study.
They're aggressive little sharks.
In this episode, rangers brace themselves for a new set of challenges
Live rounds just sitting in the vehicle.
as they work with the Northern Territory Police to establish gun security in the park,
The security of the firearms is a law for the whole Northern Territory.
while managing problem crocs in the rivers. Even as a croc farmer risks life and limb to be near these untamed animals.
There's a little female there.
It's a vast wilderness, and these Outback Rangers tread on dangerous grounds. It's the end of March. The monsoon season of Gujik is underway. The rains have transformed Kakadu and brought new life into the park. Hundreds of fishermen have now arrived, all eager to catch the legendary barramundi. With the influx of anglers crowding into the park, rangers are on high alert. South Alligator District, 2 p.m. Croc management expert Gary Lidner and Northern Territory Police Officer David Taylor have made a disturbing discovery.
Live rounds just sitting in the vehicle. A couple of vehicles have been detected with firearms here, so the police have been called in. Probably around 120 rounds of ammunition that's unsecured in the back of one of the vehicles.
No bolt, firearms safe.
Firearms are tightly regulated in Kakadu. Improperly secured firearms pose a risk not only to the park's wildlife, but also the public.
Okay, Dave, you come and have a look at this?
Especially when these weapons could fall into the wrong hands.
From time to time we get smash and grabs through these car parks where once or twice a year people who do break and enters on the cars and just grab what they can. And so in this situation here you've got about 4 firearms at least. Someone does a smash and grab, there's firearms out there in the public domain that people aren't accountable for.
The security of the firearms is a law for the whole Northern Territory. That's not a park issue. The firearm security is a NT police issue. Now it'll just be waiting for them to contact us. You know, we'll just have to have a chat to them about ensuring their firearms are secured properly and that they're not bringing them into the park.
The fisherman's mistake could cost them a hefty fine. Luckily, the Northern Territory Police have the situation under control. But in the rugged outback, there's no telling of what other dangers lie ahead. Croc management expert Gary Lidner has another problem croc on his hands. His partner for the day, ranger and traditional owner, Jonathan Nagy.
We've got to go down to the South Alligator today, and there's this report of a crocodile harassing people fishing from boats.
Starting to panic a bit. We're at the stage where I said I think we better move and get out of the way because you don't know if he's going to try and rip you out of the boat.
Saltwater crocs can be very aggressive, but they're also a protected species, so killing them will always be the last resort.
There's 2 there, he got one there, look, chasing them.
As Kakadu's croc manager, Gary has to find other ways of dealing with problem crocodiles.
Both our fathers sort of worked with crocodiles, saltwater and freshwater, so there's that long-term, I suppose, affinity sort of relationship with crocs. You know, fully respect them and, you know, understand the risk associated with working with them, but at the same time, you can't help but admire them as well. They've been here a long time and they've been through the highs and lows, you know, and I think at the moment we're seeing something really, really special with big crocs everywhere and croc numbers in high densities, and a place like Kakadu sort of really is a special place for crocs.
Gary and Jono have a plan. Locate the troublemaker and reinforce in it a healthy fear of humans. Gary calls this behavior modification technique croc re-education.
And there's another big one just here on the right.
The planet's largest living reptile, salties can grow up to 6 meters long.
That's a big crocodile.
That's huge.
Huge. He's about a 16-footer.
Holy jingo.
But he's a magnificent animal. You don't see them every day.
No.
He'd be about 5 meters plus. What do you reckon, Jono?
It's the biggest one I've ever seen, you know, all my life in this river system.
Big boy, eh? My new nickname, Chunky.
This croc might look like a menace, but he's not the one they're looking for.
Oh, we better keep going before we get stuck on a sandbar. I'll get stuck on a sandbar with him.
The problem animal was last sighted near the mouth of the river, kilometers away from where they are now. To come face to face with a croc can be deadly, but there are some people who are willing to take the risk. 200 kilometers west of Kakadu National Park, something big is about to happen. Few are brave enough to come between the world's deadliest reptile and her eggs, but Joe Wilson is one of them. Joe is licensed to collect wild croc eggs outside of Kakadu, where crocodile farming is big business. Large numbers of crocs are raised in captivity, and their skins are sold to international fashion houses. It's a lucrative job, but not for the faint-hearted.
Safety first. It's a 357, so it's got plenty of power. I use it more for scaring them than hurting them. The 2 times I got seriously bitten, they were foolish mistakes on my part, you know. And naturally, in hindsight, I should have known better. And the first time was 1997. I heard a missile coming out of the water. It got me hold of the hand and pulled me between some pandanus trees, and I hung on for dear life. It wasn't until I poked him in the eye that he rotated on my hand. My hand came off, minus some tendons. I had to carry my hand with my other hand up the bank, and 12.5 hours later I was in Darwin Hospital. That's a really different experience when something wants to eat you. Well, it makes me more careful. I won't get bitten again.
Today, Joe is heading out to a remote location along the Daly River to collect wild croc eggs. Over the years, he's pioneered his own protective cage system.
There is a bit of a bond that develops. Certainly Joe puts his life in my hands every day, and I'm very mindful of the fact that I'm carrying Joe around, and you know, I know his wife and kids, and yeah, you certainly got to look out for each other, that's for sure.
As we're going in, I've got to be really careful that he doesn't put me over the water and the female comes up through and gets me on the leg, so I hold a stick.
I've got to keep my eye on him the whole time. If you look away, look at the GPS or something, then he could be in the trees. I don't want to dump him in the water with the crocodiles around.
Within minutes of taking to the skies, Joe spots a nest.
Yeah, look out, Joe. There's a female coming towards the cage.
Well, that's good. I'm about to harvest the eggs out of this nest, and we're sinking, so we have to collect as many eggs as we can in as short a time as possible.
It's a win-win situation for all. Joe pays the traditional owners a fee for the eggs.
We have to count every egg. I write a number on them to identify each nest. That coincides with the landowner's area. Now these are freshly laid. It's probably only a day old. You can see that white mark, that means the egg's fertile and it's developing. They're only little eggs. I'm ready, Nick.
Okay.
Joe's cage helps to keep the crocs at bay, but up in the air, the risks are still sky high.
One day we'd left a cage out all dry season in the sun, and it was obviously not very good quality rope. One day we were about 40 feet off the ground and the rope snapped one at a time and I fell out. And Nick couldn't see me in the grass. It's just one of those things of being careless. We're always improving, but yeah, it's getting good, it's getting better. And the more you do, the better you get at it.
Okay, Joe, there's a pretty big croc coming at you.
She'll be a big one. Feel like a goanna half the time. It gets really hot, and when there's a lot of nests, you can lose concentration a bit. You right, Joe? I'm ready to go.
This year, Joe has a permit to collect 7,000 eggs. That's around 180 nests. And some are more dangerous than others.
As you're going down in the trees, sometimes a pilot will put you on a log and the cage will virtually tip upside down. Tipped out onto the nest. Don't jump.
Joe has to be on high alert. If the croc jumps over the cage, this could all be over in a matter of seconds.
The sheer mass of a 14 or 15 foot male, they wouldn't listen to a stick hitting them on their head, they'd just come through it. They'd knock the cage over.
Can you read me, Nick? You read me there, Nick? You there, Nick? And, sometimes he leaves me out here for hours because a big storm might come. Joe, that croc came up there, hit the cage. Yeah, just hang on, Joe. Okay, Roger.
Don't do anything stupid, despite what some people might think. Courage is simply a logical calculation of risk as opposed to reward, and that's what it comes down to. If it was really dangerous, I wouldn't do it. I could be mad, but I don't think so.
Croc farming is a thriving industry, but it also promotes the conservation of the wild crocodile nesting habitat. Back in Kakadu National Park, field researchers are also working to maintain a rich biodiversity. South Alligator River. Fish biologist Thor Saunders and his team monitor barramundi populations across the Northern Territory in order to set fishing quotas.
One of our major charters is to look after barramundi, probably the most iconic species up here. They're a very important commercial and recreational species. What we do is count the numbers of juveniles each year, and that gives us an indication of how successful the wet season was.
To better handle the fish, they're employing a special technique called electrofishing.
Well, they're putting a lot of voltage, a lot of amps in the water, put a charge in the water via the generator, and the box, we can control the voltage and the current through this box, and it temporarily stuns the fish. So as they're stunned, we just scoop them up, put them in the holding tank at the front, measure them, identify them, and we can release them and move on.
While it looks like they're a fair bit of stress, they actually can't feel anything, and as soon as you take them out of that field, they recover, and you could actually see quite a few fish were swimming off as soon as the boat passed. So it's a pretty non-invasive form of surveying the fish stocks.
It appears that the numbers of juvenile barramundi are high. Strict fishing quotas are set to protect fish stocks.
Despite being electrically shocked, they're quite lively, and there are no worries. One thing you'll note is that this dark coloration is really typical of freshwater environments, so that hasn't seen salt water for a long period of time. Is this guy here.
Kakadu's thriving aquatic world also provides the barra with the food they need to survive. Kakadu's rich biodiversity is a big drawcard for researchers like Thor. And with new discoveries every day, the park's animal residents only stand to benefit.
It's fantastic coming up here. Like you can just see it's beautiful surroundings. There's just so much wildlife and like abundance of fish and everything like that. Being a fish biologist, it's great seeing this sort of level of health in an ecosystem. Having areas like Kakadu are going to be extremely important in maintaining this type of biodiversity.
As darkness falls over Kakadu, Gary and his crew continue their dangerous mission. Re-educating a rogue croc that's been harassing fishing boats near the mouth of the South Alligator River.
It's a high-risk activity when you're doing croc management, like harpooning. You can get grabbed, you can get pulled underwater, you can get grabbed on the hand and, yeah, limb twisted off. They're a really powerful animal. So you don't want to be mucking around with them. We might head down.
Hours pass and the croc is nowhere to be found. But luck is soon on their side.
See that eye shine there?
There.
We're going to have a look at that one.
It's about 2 metres long, eh?
All right, just shine up there, Anthony, on the rope. See if you can run it up and down there. Just see if you can pick him up on the other side of that log there.
Snout rope. And what we do is go swinging around on the bow, get his jaws open so we can put the snout rope through his top jaw. That's right. Okay.
Yeah, I got him, Paddy.
I'm going to bring him up, Andrew. You ready?
Okay, get another one. Light slack, is it?
Oh, I just got to... These crocs historically have been exposed to a very smart human predator. For a crocodile, he had to keep his wits about him because he had Aboriginal people that were very in tune with their environment and hunting crocodiles. Now we can put him aboard and secure him and have a look at him. Those crocs were very wary of people. It's a different environment now though. Crocs have been given protection and new age crocs have got a totally different attitude. So this is where we have to step in as sort of artificial managers and basically put a bit of fear back into the crocs.
There you go.
Yep, young male. You want your crocs doing their stuff, but with a healthy respect. The same thing we afford crocodiles. When you see a crocodile, you regard it as dangerous. Well, you want crocodiles to think the same way. They see people, they're dangerous.
Capturing and handling the croc will instill the fear of humans into the reptile. Marking the croc also allows Gary to collect important data on the crocs in the park.
You can't kill or remove every croc that looks at someone the wrong way. So it's about being responsible with managing crocs as well. 1, 2, 3, push. Well done. Okay, good release. And that crocodile swam off with
with the fear of Christ in him.
In the next episode, rangers continue their duty to safeguard the park and its inhabitants.
When I first had it, I thought she might not make it.
But Kakadu is a land of wild extremes, and nature often plays by its own rules.
This is the location. This is exactly where he was last seen with the GPS reading.
Previously on Outback Rangers.
Any sign of her?
As seasons change, Kakadu Rangers launch a crucial patrol on poachers.
3, 4. That's Mum right there. Oh, bugger.
While preparing the park for the coming deluge.
We've got a lot of sites we've got to start getting access to.
In this episode, the long-anticipated monsoon finally arrives. But with it, new problems.
Plenty of trees down today. You don't count because it becomes depressing otherwise.
Rangers must head out to clear blocked roads, while another crew race to control an invasive species. The Outback Rangers gear up to deal with the havoc brought on by the big wet. March in Kakadu. After a record dry season, the monsoon has finally arrived. Torrential rainfall turns parched earth into thriving wetlands. It's a perfect time for the jacana to nest and the magpie geese to mate. As the river system becomes inundated, plants flourish. Speargrass grows over 2 meters tall and native plants flower. But in this wet environment, something else also thrives. Something that threatens Kakadu's fragile ecosystem. An invasive weed called Mimosa. Senior Ranger Buck Salau, along with Ranger Fred Hunter, are charged with an important mission: to search and destroy Mimosa. It competes with native plants and blocks access to food sources and habitat for animals. If left unchecked, Mimosa has the potential to devastate the wetlands.
If you had Mimosa, well, nothing goes there. It just takes over. There's no bird life. Like magpie geese can't nest, feed and all that in the floodplain, so that's probably the most important thing.
4 Mile Hole, South Alligator District. Buck and Fred are monitoring floodplains where the weeds were previously found. Today they'll travel 150 kilometers. They need to get to the Mimosa fast before they start to drop their seeds.
Two airboats working, mostly all wet season with 2 teams. That's the only way we can get to Mimosa.
If things do happen out here, that's why we carry sat phones and we've got radios for emergencies. Well, you just got to make sure when you're cruising through, just be careful and just pod along. But anything can happen out here.
You're on water, so basically if you do break down, you can't just pile over and walk off home because it's full of crocodiles here, this swamp, and that's a big area.
Basically, we come and check this plot many times as we can. As you can see, we've got one plant here. It's only a seedling. This is how we like to find them. It hasn't dropped any seeds.
Good news for the rangers so far, but it's still early in the day, and there's no telling if the rest of the floodplains are as lucky. At the East Alligator District, researcher Tegan Cremona has an equally important task.
Sleeping's getting stronger, which means that we're getting a lot closer to the location of the quoll.
Tegan has been studying the quoll population in this district. Over the last year, she has tagged 7 quolls with radio tracking devices. This morning, she's out to check on them.
These juveniles that we've been tracking, their mums have been toad trained, but the offspring themselves have not been toad trained. So that's what we're really looking at, is if they've learnt without us intervening.
The northern quoll population had been declining for many years, but when the toxic cane toad arrived in 2001, their decline went into free fall. Cane toads thrive in the wet season, so it's a critical time for the young quoll's survival. It's a crucial job, but what really motivates Tegan is her affection for these tiny marsupials.
I've always been fascinated with carnivorous marsupials. I like quolls because they're not your typical marsupial. They're not kangaroo hopping around. They've got a bit of fire in them. They're a bit feisty. They'll chase down a rat and have it for dinner. I try not to be a hermit, but yeah, when you're out here alone, you end up a bit like a hermit. The only living things I see are quolls. They're part of my family now. Look forward to seeing them every day. Picking up a double beak, which means the collar's been still for at least 8 hours. Could mean 2 things. If the collar's fallen off, it could be just sitting in the grass somewhere, and we shouldn't have too much trouble finding it. But the other alternative is that a quoll has died.
A dead quoll would be bad news for an already fragile population.
Must be here somewhere. Oh no. We've got a little quoll here that's been killed by something. Like maybe a dingo or a wild dog. It's almost been torn in half. Looks like a female. It is just really devastating. We've been following this baby basically since it became independent. And this is a small population, so every single quoll that dies has a huge impact. So especially female quolls, there's just so few of them, and we really need the females to hang on that bit longer to reproduce in the next year.
It's heartbreaking news, but there may be a silver lining.
This quoll hasn't died from a cane toad, so that's a positive thing. This quoll might have been avoiding cane toads, and it's just been unlucky to get snatched by a predator. It would be a very sad day to see a species like the northern quoll disappear. It is important that we do everything we can to help the quolls.
The big wet is also the ideal time to study another endangered population. South Alligator River, the only fully protected river system in Australia, home to a number of vulnerable wildlife species, including river sharks.
And another one.
Fish biologist Peter Kine and Grant Johnson are from the National Environmental Research Program. They have been studying the river shark population in the South Alligator River system. They're on the lookout for the elusive spear-toothed shark. a critically endangered species so elusive that no one has ever seen an adult.
Have we got a shark?
Peter and Grant need to find out more about this rarely encountered species, even if it means staking out crocodile-infested waters.
GLA 015. We're doing some surveys for river sharks and sawfish out here on the South Alligator. So sharks and ray are primarily marine species, and there's only a handful of them that get into fresh water and into rivers. The reason we're working on these species here is to try and get better information to guide and try and recover the populations. We can't recover them until we sort of know what the actual status is. These rivers act as a nursery area for the young. Since if we wanted to conserve or manage the entire life cycle of these species, we really need to know where those adults are, where they're going. It's nice when they're released, you see that nice little kick-off means they're nice and healthy, so it hasn't been too traumatic for it. There's a barramundi caught in the net here. Get them out quickly because they attract the crocodiles. Easy feed for the crocs.
It's not a bad office, really, is it? You know, it's not the easiest place to work with mud and crocodiles and lots of things trying to bite you, but it's yeah, no, it's exciting to look and see what's in there. Murky water hides a lot of things. Yeah, makes life interesting. All right. All right, then another one.
Excellent. Yeah, well, we've captured two spear tooth sharks so far. Still a bit of fishing time to go, so given the rarity of the species, that's actually not a bad day already. Well, it looks like there's rain coming.
It certainly cools things down a bit. It'd be good to have some rain.
This is the best part about it, mate. Yeah.
The South Alligator River system is one of only a handful of places in the world this shark has been recorded. But the elusive 2.5-meter adult is still to be found. Back at 4 Mile Hole, Buck and Fred are forging ahead with their search and destroy mission. They need to find and remove the mimosa before the plants drop thousands of seeds into the floodplains. One way to spot a mimosa, its touch-induced movement.
So it's one way of identifying a mimosa plant. They've got prickles on them, of course. See? And that's all it is. This one plant, if it grew to mature and seeded, that means that we're looking at a possible seed bank of another 25, 30 years. It's probably 12, 15 years old, this particular area here, where there's been a seeded plant. So just to come back and find that one, very satisfying. It's a really good find today. It's well worth just being able to find our way in here.
Searching for the mimosa is a laborious task. The rangers need to be alert at all times.
When I first came to Kakadu, there was thousands of buffalo. In the early days, some of the larger infestations of mimosa we actually found buffalo were getting in them. With the mimosa seed, it would stick to their hair, on their bodies, and also the mud. And we were starting to find mimosa plants growing out of buffalo wallows, so they were transporting the seed as well. So yeah, so we do cull them for that reason.
To stop buffaloes from trampling Kakadu's wetlands, their numbers have to be kept under control.
They are an introduced species and their numbers can build up very quickly. The job's done because it has to be done to protect our wetlands.
The rangers call it a day and return to their home for the past 4 days, the campsite.
Yeah, this area here, we camp probably 3 times a year during the wet season for airboating. We usually come down because you can't come in every day, bog up the road, so if you come in here, we usually try and stay for a while.
No.
Right. The storm coming, you can hear thunder over here behind us and over this way here. It looks like we're going to cob it. Howdy. You're going to get hit by lightning, all right? We'll survive it. We've been pretty lucky here, I think.
Buck and Fred are worried that torrential rain and wind could cause a major problem. Fallen trees.
To Card Spoke. That storm last night dropped a whole heap of trees on the road.
Yeah, copy that. We'll organise a crew and we'll see if we can get through today and meet up with you partway along the track or in where you're at. Yeah, the access has just been blocked, so we'll go and get rid of a few trees and make it a bit easy for them to get out.
Khan Spokes from the South Alligator Station is leading this roadblock operation. Khan and his team have no time to waste. They need to clear the trees that were knocked down by last night's storm.
Plenty of trees down today. The storms are an annual event that happens every wet season. For Freddie and those guys, it can become a real issue. Something belts through, knocks it down a heap of trees and locks them in for a couple of days. And worst case scenario, yeah, they could be stuck for 3 or 4 days clearing trees. So we try and help out as much as we can because the job they are doing is so demanding. This one's got a couple of issues. This tree got another dead tree hanging top end of it here, so as I drop that one may pull out of that iron bark there and the ironwood. If we get plenty of these things, it could be a very long day in the sun. Slide. I'm not going to cut right through. What I want to do is just try and give that a weak point so that when the whole thing does go, it'll drop and that will snap and that'll fall and I won't be there. That's the plan.
The work is time-consuming. With Buck and Fred trapped at 4 Mile Hole, Khan and his team need to move fast to reach them before nightfall.
It worked well. Doesn't always go to plan like that, but occasionally it does. And if we get to where Freddie and Buck are, they'll be happy. Otherwise, they'll be waiting still till tomorrow.
With the Weeds team finally able to head home, the Rangers can now call it a day. Nighttime on the South Alligator. The air is filled with sounds marking the wet season. Inactive during the dry months, many of Kakadu's frogs are now awakened by the rain and the explosion of insects it brings. Naturalist Ian Morris and ranger Anne O'Day are out tonight to see if the frogs have come out of their hibernation. Ian has a special skill, recognizing frog calls.
And it'll be interesting just to see who's around here at the beginning of their main activity period, which is the season of good yelp.
They stumble across one of the neighborhood's noisiest residents, the carpenter frog.
Hello. This is in the banjo frog family, unique to this sandstone country, both here and in the Kimberley to our west. The carpenter frog is very distinctive because it has a call that just sounds like somebody hammering wood. Every frog species has its own language, and we learn their calls very quickly because you need to be able to go into an area and do a quick survey of what's happening and who's there. We know all our frogs, all the known species. It's like members of your own family. You know their voice. Even if you're blindfolded, you know their voice. Hear the noise like a little canary? It's the one we want. It's called the masked cave frog.
Oh yeah, I'd love to see one of those.
The masked cave frog is one of many species endemic to this area. Monitoring them is vital.
When you're calling, you're signalling to both the other males of your species and the females that you've got good breeding habitat around you, but you're also letting all your predators know where you are. We've got quite a few snakes that are frog specialists, and so that sound draws them in. Hear that? That's it. Masked cave frog. There's one hopping towards me now. They have a call, a little trilling call, a little bit like a canary. One of our really unique frogs that's only found in this area, nowhere else in Australia. They're just starting to get excited now for the first time this year.
Kakadu gets under your skin, you know. Every place here just is different at all times of years. You can never have been to each place enough because it's not always the same. It's always changing, especially throughout the seasons.
Back at the East Alligator District, Tegan Cremona presses on to check on her little friends.
What we're hoping is the quolls that we've trained will have babies. And not only will the trained quolls survive, but the babies will also learn to avoid toads, and they can survive to reproduce as well.
The first few traps come up empty.
Not long after we started tracking them, we did have a few quolls die, killed by predators. The wet season can be a pretty tough time for the quolls because there's lots of hungry animals out there and there's lots of toads as well. So I'm really concerned about the future of this population.
It's not a promising sign for the fragile population, but Kakadu has a habit of revealing the unexpected.
Oh, looks like we've got a quoll. We got one. This is awesome news. She's gorgeous. She's one of the ones we've been following, one of the babies from last year. This is one of the ones that's important for the future. This is great. There's living proof here. This is working. She's survived through the toughest time. There's toads around, so they're not eating them. The incredible part of this is that these are wild animals. The fact that we've been able to teach them something, it's just incredible. It's a great success, and there's just so much hope for these guys in the future.
I think the wet season, it can be quite a humbling experience because it's out of your control. It's so dynamic. You don't know what's going to happen. We are humble to this environment. We are ruled by nature. We're not actually manipulating it, changing it in any way. That's what I love about this place, that it's looking after us.
In the next episode, Rangers and the Northern Territory Police maintain law and order within Kakadu.
Just a couple of vehicles have been detected with firearms here. Probably around 120 rounds of ammunition that's unsecured in the back of one of the vehicles.
While just outside Kakadu,
Yeah, look out, Joe, there's a female coming towards the cage.
a croc farmer takes the words risky business to another level. Previously on Outback Rangers. Extreme temperatures of the build-up season takes its toll on the crew.
It's like a big oven up here.
Do you feel like going on, or do you want to go back?
In this episode,
big deep one here.
It is.
Rangers continue their quest to find and protect national treasures. And a storm cloud signal an approaching monsoon. It spells not just a blessing, but also potential for trouble. For the crew, it's just the calm before the storm. The escarpment country of Jim Jim District, home to some of Australia's most important cultural artifacts, rock art. Cultural Officer Gabrielle O'Loughlin, Jim Jim Head Ranger Kathy Wilson, and traditional owner and ranger Jeffrey Lee are on an expedition to locate rock art sites. Kakadu's rock art is listed as a UNESCO World Heritage, and rangers must protect it. In this harsh landscape, fires are a big threat, so the team has to clear the bush around the area, or else the art could be destroyed. Temperatures are hitting 40 degrees, and Ranger Josh Taylor is taking all precautions to avoid getting sunstroke.
Cool them down before it gets too hot. It's gonna be a long day. Wrong time of the year, but it's gotta be done.
Could be rubbing up against the art, or could be a...
Jeff takes the team deeper into the country to track down the site. But the further they go, the tougher it gets.
Big deep one here.
It is. How deep is it?
Yeah.
It's wet feet time, everyone. We've got to walk through some water.
Yeah, right, am I right?
Ben, that's a deep one. It's really hard to do this rock art work. It's incredibly rugged terrain, broken up sandstone, quartzite. You've got pinnacles of rocks and gorges and creeks.
Hours pass with nothing in sight. All Jeff can rely on is his instinct, based on years of living in the bush. But even then, there is no guarantee.
We sort of find a little boulder like this, and that's mainly where you find rock art. I'm gonna go over here. But this is where all that pinnacle gets rough now. You know, look underneath. Any painting there?
Nothing. Can't see anything here.
It's a tough blow for the team.
Sometimes it's quite deceptive. You think there's going to be rock art because there's nice overhangs, but then you get close and there's nothing there. Anything?
Nothing.
We're here. We haven't found anything yet. We're pretty broken. Yeah.
Just then, Josh spots something.
There's something here, look. There.
Hey! Yo!
Got him.
I think he's just found some art.
Market.
Kakadu's rock art represents the longest historical record of any group of people in the world. It's testament to tens of thousands of years of Aboriginal culture on the land.
Rock art, you know, it makes me cry. I just break down. And I think back, our culture always been with us.
Well, this is a barramundi.
It's interesting because it's not actually a fish we find in the creeks up the top here, is it?
Barramundi and Jim Jim Falls down the bottom.
So you'd have to get down that escarpment country, wouldn't you? Because sometimes the simple figures just depict a story straight away. So you can just capture what was happening at that time.
For traditional owners like Jeff Lee, it's a discovery that evokes a deep spiritual connection to his ancestors.
Our people's spirit still lives. You can feel it. They're there. They're watching you. You're walking around country, they're watching you and me. Yeah, I get that goosebump. And I know. And that makes me feel really, really proud and really, really happy that all my ancestors are looking over our shoulder.
And it's incredible, the art. What is that? It's got a gorgeous long neck, the beak, the hair, and the long legs. That's a lovely drawing.
Being Brolga.
Brolga.
That Brolga, yeah. Yeah, that Brolga. Yeah. You can see that. Hardcore Brolga.
Some of Kakadu's rock art is thought to be up to 20,000 years old. They bear witness to ancient ways of life and also to vanished species.
We have megafauna depicted in the art. There's a long-beaked echidna that no longer exists. And there's a very large kangaroo that used to roam the country, and there are paintings here. So you can go check records, fossil records, to say how old the art might be.
After documenting the art, the team clears the area of potential fire hazards.
I've been here with that old man now.
It's been a long yet fulfilling morning for the crew. For another team, their day is just about to begin. February in Kakadu. Scattered showers during the Gunameleng season signal the approaching monsoon. Water will soon engulf the floodplains, nourishing all of the park's wildlife. For some, it's a season of anticipation. For others, it's also a time of preparation. Quoll's Crossing, the only road linking Kakadu and Arnhem Land. "50 vehicles cross here every day, but as the water starts to rise, so do the risks. Rangers Matt Dunn and Annie Taylor are on the scene to check if the rising water has reached a dangerous level.
One of the biggest issues we've got in terms of visitor safety is water crossings, people crossing at the wrong time, wrong vehicles, not experienced in water crossings, not confident in the vehicles they're in and the depth of the water when they do the crossing. But the other thing too is you can clearly see that the croc risk is here, it's evident.
The crossing will soon be closed off during the wet season, causing many to brave the currents now.
You're not here, don't pretend you're not here. I was trying to get him and he wouldn't stop it. Just a bit risky. A big vehicle like that with such a big surface area, there's too much current, they can get washed off. You see the Crocs working here. Yeah, it's just a safety risk, and we've got to either try and get the vehicle in to get them out or try and throw a boat straight in, and sometimes to be able to go back, get a boat, put it in, can take sort of half an hour to 45 minutes of them sitting in their car, croc-infested waters, so it's just risky.
With no mobile phone reception in the area, help could be hours away for stranded drivers.
Wrong vehicle could be in trouble going through this water, but sort of once it gets up around 500 and above, that 800, 900 mark is probably the mark where people start getting washed off, because it's the sheer volume of water coming across here. It's just risky, and people put themselves in that situation. Inevitably someone's going to get washed off.
For now, the water isn't at its most dangerous level, but it's only a matter of time. As the water levels rise across many parts of Kakadu, saltwater crocs will soon be able to move from the tidal rivers into the park's vast floodplains. To better manage the safety of visitors, rangers must understand the Croc's movements. Park headquarters. Croc management expert Gary Lidner is monitoring a croc he tagged some weeks back.
Give it a... He's on, Jilly. Yep.
Brand new white mould with an aerial, and this one's just distinct. We've called this Crocodile Nigel, and where we captured the croc on the night, he was by himself. Well, Nigel's got plenty of other crocs around him, but whether they want to know him or not's another thing. So yeah, we're very excited to see where Nigel goes, see if he's got any friends. And yeah.
During the coming wet season, Gary will gather crucial intel on Nigel's movements. As a croc management expert, Gary's interested in human-croc interaction on so many levels, especially when another event is underway, crocodile nesting season. From December to March each year, female crocs build nests along the rivers. Their protective instinct leads them to keep a watchful eye from an imminent threat. Salty hides are the most valuable in the world. Crocodiles are farmed from eggs collected in the wild and their skins sold to the fashion industry. With a permit, croc egg collecting is perfectly legal, but not in Kakadu. Here, it's off limits. Still, the park's protected breeding grounds attract its share of poachers. During this busy season, it's Gary's duty to monitor the situation. He's joined by compliance manager Andrew Wellings. The South Alligator River is their target. They need to scan the riverbanks for croc nests.
There's got to be a nest, eh? There.
Looks like a bit of a cleared area.
That one? I'll look.
Within minutes, they spot one.
There is. Yeah. Good nest, eh? Yeah, that's a ripper.
Gary and Andrew need to check if the nest has been raided. If it has, it will mean that poachers are on the prowl.
Just keep an eye out. Mum might come running out shortly.
Mother crocs are both highly protective and territorial. They're known to attack anything that comes near their eggs.
You're loaded, are you?
That's what Mum's up to.
Yeah, just whack the grass a bit, Andrew, see if you can flush her out. I'll just keep her in gear up against the bank.
Yeah, that's good, because I might want to get back on board quickly.
It's pretty dangerous. We're trying to work out where the female is. She might have already gone under a tree up there, but she might also charge.
There's a fresh track at the back down here.
Okay. Any sign of her?
Nah, looks all right, Gary. There's no wallow or nothing.
Yeah, I can smell her. I reckon she's in the water here.
Yeah.
There. That's Mum right there.
Yeah. Oh, bugger. Oh.
Even though she's a bit wary, she's also very interested in what we're doing with her nest.
Yeah.
We've seen her now, so we know where she is.
Yeah.
But she's seen us, which sort of...
Yeah, she's had a good look at us, good size up of us.
Well, she's gone down, so Andrew's going to be on full alert, because she could do a full charge up the bank and have a snap. So we'll do a quick nest inspection and get out of here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You can see here, she's laid a good clutch of eggs. We'll GPS it as well.
We do monitor our nests across the park. You know, there's lots of temptation by some people to raid nests. If each egg's worth, you know, 25 to 50 bucks each. Taking the eggs out of this nest could be pretty profitable.
You just land here with a helicopter, open the nest up, rip the eggs out, and then you're gone. But it's a high-risk sort of activity.
And there's significant penalties. You can fine, maybe even jail. So it's nothing light. It's a big game.
Fortunately, the nest hasn't been raided yet. But poachers aren't the only problem.
I see a number of eggs here that have already died, probably from heat stress. See the brown ones here, like that's a dead egg, that one.
Bad news for Mother Croc. Already, out of each clutch of eggs, less than 1% will make it to maturity in the wild.
And things happen. If a croc survives out of this nest, it might grow into a 16-footer one day or a 3-metre female. But it's got to run the gauntlet of life to get to that stage. And once a croc gets pretty big, it's well and truly earned its right to be, you know, a boss croc.
And Mum will do everything she can to give them that chance.
You can see here, she'll stay on this nest for about 3 months. They'll start making a noise from within the egg, and the mother will dig the nest out, and the young will hatch, and they'll stay with Mum for, you know, a couple of months or more. So she's pretty protective even after birth. She's looking now.
Yeah, we might as well get going.
All right, let's go.
A thunderstorm is brewing on the horizon, so rangers call it a day.
Ah, beautiful day. That's what we've been after for a while, eh?
Oh, well, we got enough money to buy raincoats this year, or what?
Nah. Starting back to garbage bags.
Garbage
Good old
bags.
days.
Oh, another day at work. Different time of year.
The irregular rains are pushing humidity levels sky high. In Jim Jim district, 70 kilometers away, naturalist Ian Morris is out conducting a survey. It's a great time to study how the park's wildlife is changing in this transitional season.
It's about 100% humidity, just the way we like it, really. We've had a few teasing storms that have dropped a few millimetres of rain here and there. Nothing substantial as yet, but that's enough to sort of excite everything.
Turns out, the build-up season creates the perfect conditions for some species to flourish.
These Drinaria ferns are a good example of plants that respond to increase in the build-up. They've probably got little timers in them. They probably don't need to have any rain. But at this particular time of the year, Gunamaling, rain or no rain, off they go. It's a whole sort of expectation, anticipation season. Yeah, what happens in the insect world when you get the rise in the humidity, as we got a week or two back, is that they're free to get out and do stuff.
Kakadu is home to over 10,000 insect species. For one of them, it's an ideal time for some home improvements.
What we have here, this is a termite mound, one of about 30-odd species that we get in this area. This time of year, when the rain comes, the first showers soak into the ground, the moisture penetrates, the termites underground collect that damp soil and bring it up. They'll build an area that size on top of their mound.
These mounds help control airflow and temperature in the extensive network of underground tunnels.
Maybe a week later, they'll do another slab somewhere else and another slab, and slowly the mound grows to its full height. And that might take 50 years.
With the ability to grow up to 6 meters, these expanding mounds are Mother Nature's way of saying monsoon is coming. With torrential storms due to arrive any day now, rangers must prepare the park for the coming deluge. East Alligator District. Rangers Matt Dunn and Annie Taylor have their hands full. The roads here act as vital gateways to popular tourist spots and campgrounds. But during the wet season, they become prone to severe flooding, making them impassable. To prevent this from happening, rangers must carry out regular maintenance work on the roads.
Yeah, well, this time of year, we're sort of transitioning to our weed season. When the rain does come in, here we've got a lot of sites we've got to start getting access to, so somebody can cart and gravel up and back to put on some of these boggy spots so we can hopefully get access all wet season.
They must increase the elevation of the roads so vehicles can still pass through.
Out in this district of East Alligator, wet season can become a bit of a challenge. So we've got the Magilla and the S-bends which come up and flood and basically lock us in for the wet season, and need to get boats down here to be able to get access over to Jabiru. And then 20 kilometres this way, and obviously we've got cars crossing, and that itself is a bit more of a dangerous river system. It's got a lot more flow, and when that water comes up, that's when we'll get people starting to get washed off the crossing, which can present a huge safety risk. The wet season hasn't got here yet. We're still waiting for that water to come up, but you can bet that someone will get washed off there trying to get across at the wrong time and the wrong tide. Big risk of crocodiles in that river as well.
At Quoll's crossing, Matt's fear has turned to reality. Water has risen to a dangerous level, but some have chosen to brave the currents. This driver's miscalculation could cost him his car and his life. With water levels rising fast, locals have little time to salvage the vehicle themselves. The car is wedged too deep for the rescue vehicle. They must think of an alternative quickly. It's a hard lesson for everyone. In the next episode, the monsoon finally makes a grand appearance.
Here it comes, magic time of year.
The rains bring comfort and relief to the top end. But it could also mean disaster for the stranded.
Yeah, where's your location and which track's got the trees across it?
For the Rangers, it's the start of another busy season.